So when you are outdoors, emergency is really crucial. Emergency communications is a topic that will spin, and it will have all different variations, and people have a ton of opinions. I'm gonna give you my rundown, what I think it's actually doable and realistic for most folks. So to me, the number one device you should be looking into is your phone, right? Your phone is the device that you should be using, first and foremost. If you have capabilities to call, let's say you're hiking or you're camping, and you can use your phone, that should be how you go about this. That's the easiest one. The cell towers will have a battery bank for backup, and the telcos are ready to support you there. Now, for some reason, if you cannot use your phone, again, you might be out of range in an area that there's no cell phone coverage, or your phone might just die. You could have no batteries or anything like that. Or in a worst case scenario, which I've been through, you might have a situation where that is either an event like a weather related event. So think about a flood, a hurricane, fire, that with most folks trying to access the cell phone towers and services, that's not available just because of saturation, and you can't really use your phone anymore. So if that's the case, again, this should be your primary device. If that's not the case, then we're moving into the secondary device here that I think that most people could use, and it's approachable for most folks. And that would be a satellite-based device. In here, what I have is a Zoleo device. We do use this every time we're out in the mountains and in a hike or in camping. And with that, you can do a couple of things. This is actually based on Iridium. That's the network that this uses. You could use just a device by itself. You could there's a button here, there's a hardware button, where if you press and hold that, it would call 911, which is that one right there. You could also just do a check-in, and let's say you have your loved ones configure with their phones to receive this. They would receive a message, like you're saying, like beaconing your position back to them, and that would work as well. And there's also for this device, and I know Garmin will also have that with their devices. There's a way that you can enable a always on tracking mode that folks can actually follow you. Let's say you're doing a backcountry trip, you probably want something like that on. So rugged device, this will work. Again, that's a secondary device here. As an added feature here, if you do have your phone, so let's suppose my phone is with me, but for some reason here I don't have cell phone coverage where I am, the app that comes with this device here will actually interface with the phone, and you can SMS or send messages through Bluetooth. So it connects through Bluetooth, and then the person on the other side, let's say a friend or a parent, or again your loved one that also has the same application installed on their phone, both of you can communicate. So at that point in time, you are going up through satellite. If the Zoleo device detects that it can go through, let's say an LTE connection, it will. If it detects that it can go through Wi-Fi, it will. So you kind of have some redundancy built into this, so that could work together. Again, you can use this by itself, and on that point, you're just checking in. And eventually, if you actually do have an emergency, you can hit 911 with that. Now, for some other use cases here, let's say this is not so much of an emergency, but I'm on a camping site, or I'm doing an activity where, again, cell phones might not be convenient or you can't really use them. Then I'm going to say a GMRS or FRS type of radio, like this shoe right here. That's probably a good option. They do not require any licensing, really don't require any training. They're channelized, and which means for these guys here, you can just use the 22 channels that they have in there, and you just agree with your group, like, hey, we're gonna go on a hike. Everybody will have a little radio, and for something like I want to say maybe 1 or 2 kilometers, if we're really stretching here in line of sight, free of obstructions, you can use this. It's better than nothing. Now, if you're by yourself, and you're really not communicating with anybody else, but you can still use a radio like this because it does receive weather reports. Here in Canada, you would have that from our government. So that would also, of course, work in the U.S. Where you get NOAA alerts on this. So I'd say for that reason, and for that reason only, this is still like worth the price tag. Now, and again, in Canada, Environment Canada would send you this. In the U.S., you get from NOAA. A third, and I kind of feel like this is more of a controversial option here, is to actually go with an amateur radio, right? So right here I have an Yaesu FT818, which is just discontinued at this point in time, but it's still a good hardware. It will still work. Why am I saying this is a bit controversial? I am licensed. I'm V6 DPC. The fact that you have this might give you, honestly, a false impression that this is honestly better than nothing, again, if you're licensed. But what I'm saying is a false impression of security here, because the moment I pick this up and I click it, and let's suppose I do have an emergency, you're assuming that somebody else on the other side is listening, first and foremost, right? Again, both sides in here need to be licensed. So you're assuming that somebody's actually listening and it will pick up that call for help from you. And you're also assuming that you have the conditions to transmit. Now, a little radio like this will actually transmit in various types of modes and bands and all that. But when you actually push this, because you're asking for help, need to either be able to hit a repeater. So hopefully there's one close by in your area, which also means that you need to have enough power, or your antenna is appropriately sized for that specific band. So typically the antenna here is actually what's going to dictate, but a combination of power and antenna, it's not a bad thing. And again, the person on the other side would be able to help you. Now, what you could do too, and I'll link a few videos about, if you want to go this route here, you could use some other digital modes, which I believe, based on my own experience, that at that point, again, you could go and have that audio, the communication here, and try to get help there. And when all things fail, there's always ham radio for sure. I get it, but would I count only on this? I don't think so. With digital modes, though, what you could do is, again, if you need some help, you could connect this, again, judging that you get all these conditions correctly. There are a ton of them. You could send an email through a system called WinLink to somebody that is not an amateur radio, saying, hey, things are not well here, please send help. You could do that. Again, for you to do that, though, you would need to have a device. And a lot of us actually implement this either on a Raspberry Pi or on a laptop, running the appropriate software for this, and having the right antenna, being able to hit that other repeater system, or that other station that would be able to forward your communication. It can be done. It requires a lot of training and practice. I'm gonna link the videos from the Tech Prepper in here, and then a few others that I believe that would help you there. But again, if we remove this from the equation, going back to the initial plan here, this is how I would go about. So cell phone comes first here. So you're looking into that. If that doesn't work, a satellite device of some kind. Garmin will have amazing devices as well. I'm just using this one. For local communications, a FRS GMRS radio would do it. And then really, if you do want to explore something else in your license, and you want to see how digital modes could help you, then I would say, something like a ham radio like this one would do it.